You want answers?
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
You want answers?
You have offended my family.
I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth.
And you have offended a Shaolin temple.
You can't handle the truth.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Radical Rant.
Medical marijuana dispensaries fight legalization. Again. Legalization advocates rejoiced after this election when Portland, Maine became the first East Coast city to vote for the legalization of marijuana possession by adults 21 and over. Buoyed by the support, Portland Democrat Diane Russell is going to try once again to move her bill for statewide marijuana legalization through the Maine legislature. Lining up to oppose her is the usual cadre of drug rehabbers, police organizations, and medical marijuana dispensaries? Medical Marijuana Caregivers of Maine, a trade association representing growers and dispensaries, sent out a letter to its members and the public urging voters to lobby their legislators to oppose the legalization bill. Maine Public Broadcasting reports that Paul McCarrier, a spokesman for MMCM, fears that legalization for healthy people would, quote, threaten to undo the medical marijuana system that's in place and create an underground market for marijuana, end quote. What is the current market in marijuana for healthy people in Maine, Paul? He continues, quote, with the level of tax they're suggesting on marijuana, including having a minimum amount per gram, all that will do is encourage a black market in this state and will drive up the costs for marijuana producers in general, end quote, McCarrier says, though it's kind of hard for me to imagine how legalization can create a bigger black market than already exists for marijuana. It's also hard to fathom how a tax is a greater cost than the freedom and assets one can lose in a pot bust. The Portland Press-Herald reports that Representative Russell's bill would, quote, impose a 10% sales tax and a 15% excise tax on marijuana. That revenue would go toward public school construction, addiction treatment, and the prevention of underage sales and usage, among other programs, end quote. If those numbers sound familiar, they're equal to the taxation just passed in Colorado for its recreational marijuana system. And they are far lower taxes than the 3 times 25% taxes Washingtonians will be paying for legal weed. But according to priceofweed.com, high-quality marijuana is selling for over $320 an ounce right now in Maine, while prices in Colorado and Washington are both below $240 an ounce. The estimated $12 a gram price in Washington, even after massive taxation, is about what Mainers are paying for black market weed right now. It's unfortunate that medical marijuana grower and dispensary opposition to marijuana legalization has become so predictable. First, we saw dispensaries and the Emerald Triangle growers opposing Proposition 19 in California in 2010. Then we saw dispensaries opposing Washington's I-502 and even some that opposed Colorado's Amendment 64 in 2012. The drug czar couldn't have concocted a more sinister scheme. Let only the minority of medical users smoke pot. They'll build an industry to satisfy their needs. Then they'll protect their monopoly turf and spend the proceeds from pot sales to prevent the majority of healthy users from smoking pot. Genius. And I'm taking a lot of heat for this on Facebook and in some of the private email lists, but I'm afraid, folks, my tolerance, my poker face, my ability to wink and nudge has been exhausted by the medical marijuana movement. And the standard disclaimer I have to say is that if this shoe doesn't fit, don't wear it. If you're the cancer patient out there who really needs a pound and a half of weed to be able to convert into Rick Simpson's oil to take care of your cancer every day, and without it you'll die, I'm not talking about you. I'm not talking about the little girls with epilepsy that need high CBD oil and you got to produce so many plants. Not talking to you. I am talking to the people that you know and I know just managed to find a nice set of keywords in their medical records, just enough that they could take it to a doc-in-the-box clinic where some hourly wage employee without medical or legal training reviews it to make sure that the right keywords are there so the doc-in-the-box can sign off on it at the rate of 1 every 15 minutes. Knowing that if he doesn't sign, there'll be another doc in the box to take his place. You know they exist, and I know they exist. And what's getting frustrating beyond all hell, because I made a lot of the same arguments these people try to make to me. You can't tell who's sick just by looking. Yeah, I know. My friend Greg DeHoe has Crohn's disease. You can't tell he's got a serious illness that requires a shit ton of weed just by looking at him. I understand that. But I also know the people, for example, in Oregon, the 25,000 plus people with caregiver cards who have no medical documentation of anything whatsoever, but have a card in their wallet that provides them the exact same protection from arrest and prosecution for cultivation and possession of 1.5 pounds of weed and 24 plants as the cancer patient. You know they exist. I know they exist. You know they exist, the growers out there who recruit patients off of Craigslist, who put the name, looking for patients. I'll pay for your card. It'll pay for a patient's card so they can have enough cards to cover the number of plants that they're growing in their massive grow. And sure, they give free weed to their cancer patient. Of course they do. That's their rent check, right? Of course they give free weed to their cancer patient. Al Capone gave free turkeys out on Thanksgiving too. It's good public relations. But that doesn't stop the fact that we've got 6 mature plants in Oregon or 15 mature plants in Washington state. I can bet you dollars to donuts the guys aren't making sure those plants are nice and small so they don't grow too much weed to go over the limit. No, they're growing those plants to 10 to 15 pounds of weed per plant. And you want to bet that not all that excess makes it back into that state's dispensary system and back to that state's patient population, because if it were, then all these cries about, there's not enough access, there's not enough marijuana would ring hollow, wouldn't they? No, there's not enough access, not enough marijuana, because we keep prohibiting it. We keep treating it as if you have to have a valid excuse to be able to use it. We keep restricting its marketing to just this quasi-legal wink, wink, nudge, nudge dispensary systems. Today, I had someone on Facebook who was a dispensary owner up in Spokane, Washington, who flat out admitted he was trying to defend himself by saying, I'm not a greedy guy. I didn't make a lot of money. And I'm not saying necessarily he made a lot of money at it. He said he started small, and then when the feds raided him and he went to prison, he didn't have anything. Maybe that's how well he ran his business. I don't know. That's not the point. The point involved in this situation is that he readily confirmed, in trying to defend himself, we made sure no patient was ever turned away from inability to pay because we charged the people who were gaming the system in order to make the ends meet. The dispensary system itself knows it could never survive solely on the medical purchases being made by the most sick people. And they know they couldn't have passed any of these laws without the support of a lot of the not sick people who knew they'd be able to loophole their way into this, or at least have greater access and protection and selection by passing a medical cannabis law. So the time is getting long overdue that we stop playing these games with the public and stop trying to pretend that every single medical marijuana patient is the sickest, most desperately ill, bedridden, wheelchair-bound cancer patient. I'm not denying they exist. I'm not saying they should have their 24 plants or however many ounces taken away from them. I'm saying pretending the extreme outlier is the middle of the bell curve is not going to win you any confidence points from the people on the other side who want to take it all away. If you're really concerned about the cancer patient losing that massive amount of access, maybe you'd think about admitting, okay, how about we compromise and let the cancer and AIDS and whatever patients have 24, and let's reduce medical for everyone else down to 3 ounces. But no, that's anathema. Oh no, my God. Oh no, my God. If every single patient doesn't have access to 1.5 pounds, then every single patient is likely to die. And it's just not true. And then I get to be the one that's called divisive over this shit when the division began in 1996 when leaders of the reform movement decided that we could have most of the cannabis patients wait in the back of the bus long enough to make sure that the sickest and most disabled were taken off the battlefield in the war on drugs. And we dutifully went to the back of the bus, and we dutifully volunteered and donated and voted for every single medical marijuana law, even as we knew it wouldn't protect us, even as from state after state after state, they got more and more and more restrictive because they were reacting to all the clear abuses they could see in the previous states. But we're the divisive ones somehow, the ones who've been sitting in the back of the bus, the ones who year after year have been waiting. And now finally, when we get to the point where legalization is possible in some states and we're actually starting to pass some of these things, the only pot smokers standing up in opposition to it are the ones who already got theirs. Don't mess with my system, I got's mine. And for every cancer patient, AIDS patient, glaucoma patient, anybody you want to martyr and put in the front of your argument, I can put 10 black kids in New York in that argument. I can put people in New Mexico who are being anally raped in that argument. I can put Katherine Johnston and Michelle Hoffman and a number of people, Jose Gorena. I can put a whole bunch of martyrs up front to show you why legalization's important. All right. Got to chill out a little. For Brian the Red, I'm Radical Russ. Thanks for joining us. We'll take this into hour 2, Toker Talk Radio. And until next time, take care of each other, Tokers.
This is the Russ Belville Show. The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at radicalruss.com.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed.